4 o'clock on a Thursday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woohoo! Hello, you guys. How are you? Let me see something. I want to make sure everything is working. There I am. Okay. All is good in TV land. Hi, you guys. I got up to go lower the air conditioner and I came back and the picture was all out of whack. It's still not perfect, but actually, I'm not at home. You fell for it, Andre. The construction guys were finally finished, and last night when I got home, I took my cell phone and kind of laid prone on the table and took the shot. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Notice there's not much of the furniture right there. I've got to work on framing better, but I'm in the ballpark. Anyway, good to see you. Yep, no clock. That's right. Well, I'm not going to screw around with it now, but that was so weird. I had the picture, like all the brightness, the gamma, the contrast, the hue, all that stuff worked out. And then I got up to lower the air conditioner. I came back and my face was like burnt orange and I had fuzzy stuff all over the place. So still a little fringing going on around the hair, but whatever. It's Quarantini Happy Hour. It's casual. So today we are going to talk about how the screeners are chosen at Taxi and some other stuff. But you know what? First, I've got to go get that email and print it out. And Liz, if you would be so kind to bring this down to me. Where the heck did it go? Oh, man, nothing is easy. Let me look in old mail. Maybe it's there. Or maybe it's just not going to show up. Home photo. Nope. Anyway, I sent myself the email. There we go. All right. Show idea. Where is it? Liz, remember that email from yesterday about the show idea? For some reason, oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to print this, Liz, and if you would be so kind to walk it down here for me, that would be awesome. You guys are getting to see a little behind-the-scenes action in TV land today. Oh, that didn't format very well. How are they chosen? Oh, what the hell. I'm just going to print it as is. All right. Coming to your printer, Liz, if you would be so kind as to bring them down, or bring it down. Trying to quit out of Zoom. That's not working. There we go. Okay, coming back to you right now. There I am. All right. All is good. And what happened? Thank you, Liz.
There you go.
Thanks.
Yep.
Let's get this out of here. Get that out of there. It's tough being a television producer when you're also the star of the big show. If you can call this stardom. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about We're going to talk about more insight into taxi screeners, how they're chosen, instructions they may be given beyond what is on the listing. What are their deadlines? Is there a limit to the quantity of songs they may listen to in one setting? Is there a third-party review? Okay, so there you go. Wow, I still don't have all my stuff. My shirt looks a little bit contrasty, but what the hell? So, yeah, this was sent in by Chris Anderson, and I'll get to it in a minute, but I want to say that my wife went to get her shot today, her vaccine. She got the J&J. Our healthcare provider was going to take a while for her to get it, and you couldn't request one over the other. You had to just take whatever you're given. So she just Googled Johnson & Johnson vaccines available, and it gave us a place in Simi Valley, which is a 20-minute ride from our house. Walked into a little mom-and-pop pharmacy in a doctor office kind of building, filled out a form, and sat down, got the shot, waited 15 minutes, went home. And so there you go. So that was easy. So I was mentioning that to one of my daughters who lives here in LA. And she said, oh, yeah, my husband went yesterday and like signed up and got the shot. And he's not even over 60 or 65, whatever the cutoff is today or this week. And they had so many leftover doses that they were just giving them out to people. So apparently either people aren't showing up to get what's coming to them, or they don't want to get what's coming to them, or a lot of doses landed at that particular place. I don't know. But for gophers run the cameras. Boy, I wish they did. But if you live in Los Angeles, I can tell you that you should, hang on. Go to Carbon Health Vaccine and just select any group. I did, this is from my daughter's friend. I did food and agriculture. I chose the Pierce College site, which is in Woodland Hills here in Los Angeles. They offered Johnson & Johnson. They didn't ask for any proof of eligibility, just ID. Not to be political, but isn't it funny that you have to show an ID to get a vaccine? You have to show an ID to get on an airplane, but people have a problem with people showing an ID when you go to vote for President of the United States or any other thing. It's like, who makes up these rules? Anyway, so apparently it's getting easier to get the vaccines. I get my second shot tomorrow, and then I will be fully vaxxed. I guess you're supposed to wait 2 weeks after you get the second shot before you're considered fully vaccinated. I look a little pale, but you know what? I'm going to suck it up and just live with that. So let's talk about the taxi screeners. Is Chris Anderson here today? Chris, are you in class? Hey, Sherry. I didn't say Siri, I said Sherry. I don't like Siri. I got to say, I like the stuff on my Android phone works way better than Siri. There's a new name. Hello, Jimmy. Welcome to our dysfunctional family. Hello, Nathan Marshall. I've seen you here before, but I don't know that I've ever said hello. Chris Anderson is here. So anyway, hey, Darren Moss, how are you, buddy? Haven't heard from you in a while. Good to see you back. Hope everything's okay. So Chris Anderson sent this in yesterday. I really appreciate it. It gives us a little something to start the show off with today. So more insight into the screeners. How are they chosen, first of all? There have been so many ways that we have found screeners over the years that I can't say that there's any real methodology to it. It's probably changed over the years, but we've done stuff like put out classified ads on job sites. One of the most effective methods we've got is sending out an email to all of our existing screeners. Hey, we're looking for this kind of screener. Do you know anybody? That has worked really well in several cases lately. Screeners will come in and say, hey, you know, I know so-and-so that worked at a music library and just lost their job. Or I remember gosh, somebody referred us to the music supervisor. Oh, what was the show? It was on the FX network. Anyway, the music supervisor, the number one rated show on the FX network, probably around, I would say, 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. And the guy was making $7,500, not per episode, per season, being the music supervisor on that show. And I've mentioned that before on this show because I just think it's ridiculous that somebody got paid so little. But, he needed extra money. So we had him screening here for over a year. I'm trying to think of some other ways we've found people, but basically by referrals, by outreach to people we know, and occasionally, not very often, but on occasion when we've had a tough time finding a new screener or several new screeners, we've run classified ads and have found people. But I will repeat that the best way is finding existing screeners to reach out to their friends, because the existing screeners know what the work is like, what the workflow is like, where the bar is set, and they understand that communication skills are a big part of it, so they tend to reach out to friends of theirs that have the right qualifications for the right kind of music and have the right communication skills, which is so important. How did we find Katy Perry? Well, it was back when I was single and Katy was looking for somebody to date. No, I was married at the time. I honestly don't know. I remember that Clint McBay, who was the person in charge of hiring screeners, this would have been probably in the early 2000s, I think, because I know we were in this office. I think we moved in here in 2001. And one day Clint said, hey, by the way, I think somebody referred her to us, a new screener that can do Christian and gospel. And went, okay, those are kind of hard to find in LA, quite frankly. And turned out it was Katy Perry, and she had those qualifications because her parents are ministers, and they did music. They played a lot of live music, I believe, and they did praise and worship stuff in their church. So she grew up hearing it, knowing it, and she herself was a musician. Now, she'd already been signed to a record deal, but had been dropped by the label. And as she once told me in a private conversation, it was a real low point in her life. She didn't want to give up the dream of trying to get a record deal, but she just couldn't eat. She had been, I think, booted out of her apartment. She lost her car, and somebody referred her to us. And she told me many years later that she was renting cars from Rent-A-Wreck to come out here and screen. Anyway, doesn't she take limos? Maybe today, I'm pretty sure she does. Michael looks like he has a halo. That's right. This is the halo from our house. I'm actually not sitting home. This is actually green screen shot that I used during the quarantine when I was still working out of the house for the last year. Now that I'm back in the office, I was kind of missing the house vibe. So I took this shot, and here I am, back in the house. So anyway, that's the Katy Perry story. So how are they, that's how they're found. How they're chosen is a whole different story. So when we find people that are qualified in certain genres, then we bring them in, we tell them all about it, we have them go sit in one of the screener workstation areas, and we actually give them real submissions for real listing. But just so you know, the work they do on the test is not the final work. We just erase or delete everything that they did. But we give them actual music from our members. They sit down, use the same thing they would be using, like tomorrow if they start screening, and they do 2, 3, 4 songs, whatever it is. And then after they're done, they sit down with the head screener and with Tom, who's our head of A&R, and they go over the work that they've done so far. And then they go back out and do another hour or two. And if it looks promising, And the things that they're looking for are, number one, do they have good ears? Do they use good judgment? Do they fill out the forms correctly? Because that's important. Do they have good communication skills? Are they over elaborating? Are they under elaborating? Are they wrong in the things that they say? So all that goes into the mix. And if all that stuff comes up good, the one thing that's true for virtually all of them is that they are all slow in the beginning. But who wouldn't be? It's a new use of skill sets in a way that they've probably never used it before. So we know when we hire them that it's going to take them 1 to 3 months to kind of get up to speed. We've had people make it through the testing phase, and when they started screening, it didn't work out. And we like to, end that relationship pretty quickly. We do, Chris asked later, is there a third-party review? That's what the screener does, especially on the new screeners. The head screener will look at every single critique, which they do in general anyway, but they scan them. They go through them going, they're looking for things like, did somebody copy and paste, which is, you get fired for doing that here. That's where there's a hard line drawn there. And we don't care how much we love you or how wonderful you are in every other way. You are told in the very beginning, if you ever copy and paste anything, you won't work here anymore. And we've had to, I'd say probably 3-ish people over the years that we've had to boot for copying and pasting. It's funny, back when we used to do pencil and paper critiques, we actually had one guy, he was one of the 3, that was literally writing the same thing on every critique. He wasn't even copying and pasting it with the computer. He was just copying his own work with pencil and paper. Now, sometimes, when people hear this, they go, oh, I'm going to start looking for copying and pasting. Be forewarned that many of the same mistakes are made by many, many, many people. And so you might see phrases that are remarkably similar, maybe sometimes even identical, that pop up repeatedly, like the chorus doesn't pop enough, the chorus doesn't get big enough, this needs a stinger ending, whatever the common mistakes are. Those things will pop up all the time. That doesn't mean they're copying and pasting. We're looking for 3 or 4 sentences in a row that are identical. And when we see that, that's it, you're gone. And that's another reason that we've got the head screener, is to watch out for that. So when the new person sits down and they start, they will do, probably a shift or 2, and a shift is 4 hours. To answer another one of Chris's questions, I determined when I started the company, and I was one of the original 12 screeners or 7 screeners, whatever the number was, I quickly determined that after 4 hours, you don't get burnt out, you get angry more quickly. Especially when you hear the same dumb mistakes made over and over. It's like you want to just say, dude, what the hell were you thinking? And we don't want that going out of here on paper or on computer. So I set it at, I'll get to questions in a minute, Pat. So I made it 4 hours, and it worked out really, really well. The screeners are also trained that once they start a shift, if they've had a bad night of sleep, or they were almost in a car accident on their way to the office, or they're coming down with the flu, or they're having problems at home, whatever makes them not on their game, they are trained from the very beginning. You know what? Do not be embarrassed. Do not be fearful. You will not lose income. If you walk in here and you don't feel like you're bringing your A game, go to the head screener and say, I'm not on my game today, and we will save that work for you to do tomorrow. So, people always say, oh, I think the screener didn't forward this because they had a fight with their spouse last night or didn't drink enough coffee, whatever. Anything is possible. It's highly unlikely because we've got that system in place to ensure that that sort of stuff doesn't happen. There is no quantity of songs. There is no... we don't tell them you've got to do X number of songs per hour. We do ask that they at least break even for us. And frankly, I got to be completely honest and candid here. We've had screeners over the years that gave great critiques, and they just never got fast enough. We would lose. I'm not going to mention any names. It's somebody who was kind of a famous screener here for many, many years. He never broke even for us, and frankly would cost us somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a year in lost. We spent more on him than we did on the submission fees that came in for the material he screened. But we kept him here because the quality of his critiques was so good that we decided, and we make this decision all the time, we'd rather err on the side of quality and satisfied members than worrying about whether or not we're making money or breaking even is kind of the standard on screeners. So we've always had that in place. And sometimes we get lucky and we hire a new screener and they're really good and they're pretty quick. And those people kind of make up for the people that we lose money on. So it's always kind of been a wash, gain a little ground here, lose a little ground there. Let's see. Are there instructions that may be given beyond what is in the listing? No. There really aren't. People sometimes, we get asked that question fairly frequently. No, they don't have any inside information. They know what you know. They walk in the front door, or if they're working remotely, they log on. They are assigned stuff based on their expertise and their availability and our needs. All that stuff goes into the decision as to who's working this coming week. And when they sit down, they don't know what they're working on unless they're working on a continuation of a listing that they worked on yesterday or a few days before. So they sit down and they read the listing just like you read the listing. They may ask the head screener or Tom, it says that the bar is really high for this one, but I remember screening for this company, 2 weeks ago, and it didn't say the bar was really high. I just wanted to double check. And so they may have that information, and we may tell them, no, that thing that the bar was super high for was a TV commercial. This is just instrumental music for reality shows. The bar is not as high as it would be for a $30,000 sync in a TV commercial. So if you call that inside information, yeah, they get that. But that's about it. There are times when screeners bring in listings. A screener may have been working on a show or at a network or for a music supervisor or whatever, and they may know kind of the vibe of the company or what the personal taste is of a music supervisor. Although supervisors don't pick stuff based on their own personal taste, but this person might have worked with that supervisor before and knows that they prefer this kind of rock over that kind of rock. So maybe that gives them a little intuitive look into it, but no, we don't even know that stuff. So you know what they know and what we know, with minor little things like I just told you, and that's there's no way to quantify that or put that really on paper, if you will. Is there a third-party review? Absolutely. The screeners, like I said, the head screener is constantly watching and doing quality control on the screeners. And the kinds of things that the head screener might tell them is, you've got a lot of typos. It makes us look bad as a company. Or you're putting your stuff in shorthand. You're not, say the whole sentence. Don't just say, kind of cool, but ... That doesn't tell anybody anything. You should say, it's kind of cool, but if you shortened the intro. That sort of stuff. So we push them to be more specific and more helpful. I think I've covered everything on Chris's list. What are their deadlines? The screeners' deadlines are the same. If you see a deadline, let's say for May 15th, And again, this is very variable. Depending on what kind of entity the listing is being screened for. If it's on episodic television and they need it pronto for next week's episode, we've got to be extremely strict on that deadline. So the deadline, let's say that the TV show needs it in their hands by May 15th. We would probably deadline it to you guys on May 12th or 13th. Again, all the things that go into that calculus are what genre is it? Is there a sync fee involved? Anything that might cause a lot of submissions to come in. So if we know just from our own experience over the years that, oh, this is singer-songwriter, heartfelt singer-songwriter, that always gets a lot. For a big TV show on a broadcast network with a $3,500 sync fee, we know we're going to get a few hundred for that. So we know when the listing is written, we know when the list of the request comes in that we're going to get a lot for that. So we go ahead and pre-plan, and we back time our deadline so that we know we can absolutely hit the deadline going to the industry person. So I think that covers everything Chris had. Okay, I will now field questions from the audience. Hello, audience. How are you guys? Do the screeners accept gift deliveries of chocolate-covered espresso beans? No, but we do give them free coffee. We do have some taxi members that will send in, we joke about it, and it's only half kidding, because if we know the member well and have known them for a long time, we have members that send in brownies, and cookies and popcorn, all kinds of little treats every now and then, a few times a year. There have been times where people that we don't know who just joined recently, maybe they're misguided thinks, oh, if I send in a batch of chocolate chip cookies, when they put these out in the kitchen for the screeners, they'll say, so-and-so from Ishpeming, Michigan sent these in, thinking that will somehow get them forwarded more. It won't. And frankly, there have been times where we've gotten a batch of cookies or something homemade and thrown them away because we worried, we don't know, this could be a pissed off member that decided to put arsenic in the cookies. Who the hell knows? Special brownies? Well, we do get brownies from Ragani. I don't know if you know, or Ragani, I guess is the way you pronounce her name. A very long-term member of ours that many people, both members and staff, adore. She's a great lady. I believe she's from Wisconsin. And every year after the road rally, she sends us an awesome batch of brownies. And they are special brownies, but not that kind of special. They have chili powder in them, so there's a little kick to the brownies after you eat them. I guess if they were the other kind of brownies, there'd be a little kick after you eat them too. Do we have a taste tester in case? Yeah, I being the owner of the company, sure, whenever stuff comes in like cookies or brownies, I always give it to the staff and screeners first. Oh, man. A screener called me. They needed to know if my piece was available in 15 minutes. That wouldn't have been a screener. That would have been somebody on the staff. I responded yes, and they forwarded it. With the urgency and high dollar level of the placement, how long should I wait? I can't tell you. I don't know any particulars, but I would guess by now that if it was something that was that urgent, that they probably made their decision in a day or two, would be my guess. Does taxi mix stems? No, we prefer the leafy stuff and the seeds. No, we don't mix stems. um, Pat Wara, you're from Ishpeming, Michigan, for real? I once dated a girl from Ishpeming, and I was so proud that I was able to pronounce it that I've used that as one of my small town references forever. Yeah, if it was a couple weeks ago, it's probably a dead issue by now, but I can't say that with absolute certainty. Question from Super Blonde. Can you elaborate on singer-songwriter broadcast quality is needed versus others say stripped down demos are okay to submit? Yeah, the listing numbers don't really help me because I'm not going to look them up right now because it'll take me too long, but okay. When somebody's looking for a song for an artist on a record label, um, this happens in country. I mean, a lot of the country demos now are super high quality. They're essentially master recordings. But there are some people in Nashville that will be happy to listen to a great song. It's got to be a spectacularly good song. And they will listen to just a guitar vocal or a piano vocal demo if the vocal performance is heart melting and it's super well recorded and crystal clear and well balanced between the guitar, the piano, and the vocal. They will listen to that, and if they love it, then they will play it for the artist on their label that's looking for material, or maybe the producer, maybe the manager, maybe all of them in like a group meeting situation. So, and then there are other listings where they're looking for stripped down singer-songwriter stuff because there's a TV show or a music library that's looking for singer-songwriter stuff, and sometimes singer-songwriter stuff is accomplished super well with just a piano vocal demo or a guitar vocal demo. So in all cases, though, it's just got to be well recorded, a great acoustic sound, a really nice job on the vocal sound, and almost more important than anything is the vocal performance. So I hope that answered the question. Looking for other questions. But that implies the vocal has to be very good pitch vocal, whereas a singer-songwriter may not have good pitch. Neil Young didn't have good pitch. Yeah, I don't know if you know Super Blonde, but I've spent thousands of hours in the studio engineering for Neil. And Neil makes fun of his own vocal approach. You're absolutely right. Put it this way. If you're pitching for a major country superstar who's willing to listen to singers, a piano vocal or a guitar vocal demo, pitchy doesn't work for that. If you're looking for singer-songwriter stuff that is Neil Young-esque or Tom Waits-esque or moody singer-songwriter. There are times, broadcast quality, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean a spectacular recording. It means that it's appropriately recorded, produced, mixed, all that stuff for the style. And I've said this 1,000 times. I've heard stuff that absolutely will get forwarded from here for the right listing. Do not take this to mean across the board. But if somebody's looking for that moody, lo-fi singer-songwriter thing where it sounds like the acoustic guitar is still using the strings that came on it from the factory, and the vocalist is pitchy but super emotional and heartfelt, really conveys the meaning of the lyric, and it sounds like it was recorded using the built-in mic on your Mac laptop into GarageBand, but it sounds right for that type of music, that is broadcast quality in that context. If you were pitching the same song to get somebody on a major label to record it and their style is not Neil or Tom-esque, it better be really well recorded and the vocal can't be pitchy and it has to be well performed. And in a perfect world, a male vocal for a male pitch, female for a female pitch, pick a good middle key. So if you do it in a key that's too low, some people can't nail it. If you do it in a key that starts out too high, it may be hard for them to sing it. So start with a good middle key that almost anybody could sing if it gets rangy at all. All these things go into the calculation on what could work. Yeah, artists get away with stuff because that's part of their signature. It's part of their character as an artist. Looking for other questions. No pitchy pitching. No bitchy bitching either. Yeah, pitchy rarely works in sync, but it could, Sherry, if it's a Tom Waits. I'm trying to think of some other artists. I mean, there's pitchy and there's, you know what I mean? It's so hard to explain. I would love to do a show about that, but I'd have to use a bunch of other people's music that would get me little nasty letters from YouTube. Oh, man. I don't have a CD player in my office anymore. I want to play you guys the CD of, you know what? I'm going to go pull it off a shelf. And no, I'm not, because if I get up, I don't want the picture to go weird again. Anyway, there's that song that I was talking about the other day that was literally a piano vocal demo, and it was the single best piano vocal demo I've heard since I came into the industry in like 1975. I don't have a CD player. Somewhere in my office, I've got one of the little flying saucer things. Yeah, Neil's melodies are awesome. Yeah, laptops don't have them anymore. I know I've got to play that song. I'll do it sooner than later. I'll dig up a CD player. Hi. No, thanks, Liz. Liz just brought one in. I don't want to go through the machinations of hooking it up to my Rodecaster and all that stuff right now, but I'll figure it out and play it for you. I've tried to get Paul Williams for the Road Rally. I actually called him. He and I and Ralph Murphy and the CEO of IMRO, which is the Irish PRO, the four of us golfed together about probably 4 years ago, and I called him. I either texted Paul or called him like 2 weeks later and asked him if he'd do the road rally, and he seemed squeamish. I think part of the problem is because the ASCAP Expo and the Taxi Road Rally are seen as competitive, and considering he's the CEO or chairman or president of ASCAP, whatever he is, I think he kind of wanted to do it. He's a super nice guy, really, really, really genuinely nice person. Has a great heart, not a great golfer, right, Paulie? This is a running joke amongst his friends about his golf game, and people kid him about it to his face. But he really, really loves the game, and it was a great day. I mean, Ralph told me for years how much fun it was to golf with Paul, and that day was just awesome. Anyway, maybe someday I'll get him on. I could tell he kind of wanted to do it. Do you use the same screener? Hello, Martin Crossdale. Do you use the same screener in similar categories, for example, gospel and Christian, contemporary Christian? Some are really good at crossing over. We've had a few, and frankly, some of our head screeners are picked to be head screeners because they're great in so many genres, and their communication skills are so good, and they're really current. Their ears are very current. And they're encyclopedic about music, so and their knowledge of songcraft, all that stuff. So those are the things that qualify you to be head screener. I would say most screeners do a genre or two. Here's the weird exception, and that is that for film and TV stuff, I said this the other day, I believe, but or no, I said it on one of our new member Zooms, that if we have a screener who is just killer at like pop R&B that would be cut by artists on record labels, we don't put them on pop R&B listings for a music library. Why? Because they don't understand the difference between songs that work for sync and songs that work for records. That's a learned, skill set, or an acquired skill set and a learned knowledge base. It's not something that you can explain it to them, they can go sit down and just get it right. You need to listen to a lot of stuff. You need to watch some episodes of Taxi TV with Robin Frederick explaining it. It takes time. So we are much more prone, and this was at my insistence actually, that we don't put record people who are highly qualified in a particular genre on those genres for film and TV. I would rather have somebody that used to work at a music library screening almost any genre for music library stuff, because they know what works for libraries. They don't have to be expert on the genre. They have to be expert on, does this sound authentically like the genre and does it work for a library? Versus somebody that knows pop R&B for records, they're going to be looking for just A++ songcraft and other things that aren't really as applicable for film and TV. Not that film and TV is a lesser thing, it's a different thing. So I hope that answers. You're welcome, Marlon. Ronald Schultz, can I put a queue on my website if it's already with an exclusive library? Ask the library. Some don't mind, others do. Wow, it's 4:44 already. Okay, so everybody pay attention for a second. I want to run something by you. We do get calls. Somebody mentioned earlier that somebody from the Taxi staff had reached out. It was probably the head screener or Tom. We will get calls. Not all that often, but they're becoming more and more frequent, where a music supervisor needs something in an hour. Or they call us at 4 in the afternoon. I need stuff in my email box by 9 a.m. tomorrow. It makes it very, very hard to run a listing and have you guys get your stuff in here and have us screen it. We can do it. It's just, it's a challenge. It takes all hands on deck. It takes people working overnight to do it. We've had cases in years past where I remember one time Kevin Houlihan, myself, and one other person were all screening like all through the night. I happened to be in New York in a hotel room at the time, so I was covering nighttime in New York. Houlihan was covering nighttime in LA, and I think the other screener also covered nighttime in LA. And that's what we needed to do. I was in New York meeting with ad agencies, and the ad agency said, we need stuff by tomorrow at 9 or 10 a.m. Go ahead, take a shot, see what you guys can find. So I walked out of that meeting and texted the office. They drafted up a listing, emailed it back to me. I approved it. It went out within an hour of me finding out about the request. And we had people submitting music until 8 p.m. or something in Los Angeles that night. And then 3 of us just worked through the night finding stuff. And we came close, but didn't get the spot. But 2 of our members came really, really close on that one. They made it down. 2 out of the final 3 were Taxi members, and then they went with somebody else. Bangu. Nighttime in LA sounds like a song. I'm sure it exists, Marion. Who did I date from Ishpeming, Michigan? I can't remember. I was like 16 years old. I was camping in Wisconsin, going to the Wisconsin State Fair, And my best friend and I were out walking around looking for chicks because we were a couple of 16-year-old guys, and his parents were at the other end of the campground. And we met these two girls from Ishpeming, Michigan. And I actually met her like 9 months later. She drove back to Lake Geneva, and I drove to Lake Geneva, and we met there or something. But yeah, I think it was 2 dates. That's all you need to know. Do we ever tell music supervisors, no, we will not run your listing because your deadline's too tight and you should have seen this request coming? Your own project scheduled 3 months ago? No, we don't talk like that to music supervisors. They are never wrong. We can't tell them that they've done a crappy job of doing their job. Come on, Super Blonde, really? No, we don't. What we do is exactly what happened is we will say, you know what? We don't have enough time to run a listing. Oh, yeah, this is the thing I want to tell you guys about. We don't have enough time to run a listing, but we're going to go in and look at the last 3 or 4 batches of things that we forwarded in that genre, and the head screener and the head of A&R will put their heads together and see if they can come up with a half a dozen things that would be applicable for your thing, and we'll get them over there in a couple of hours. So we've done that. Now, pay attention, guys. This is really important. I have been in ongoing discussions with a software company that has artificial intelligence that they've been trying to get us to use at Taxi, and I keep saying to them, it works pretty well. Over the years, I've had a few different companies have me test their artificial intelligence. And I always say, you can't replace what human beings do, especially here at Taxi. The AI has gotten good enough that a lot of the music that it picks, you go, gotta say, pretty impressed by that. Can't write a critique yet. I guess we could train it over a period of years. Hope none of the screeners are watching this. Anyway, human interaction is key. And frankly, there have been guys who have been pushing AI, A&R for years, especially to record labels. Let our computer pick your hits. Generally doesn't make it past the VP of A&R. The reason being, if the AI did it really well, then nobody in the A&R department would really be necessary now, would they? So they kill it pretty quickly. So there is one company that has AI that so far has impressed me. We haven't tested it on instrumental cues or songs for film and TV. I've personally done some general tests with them where it was, okay, give us a reference song and see what we can come up with. And the first thing I gave them, just to be a wise ass, was You Are the Woman by Firefall, because it dates back to like 1975 or 76. And I gotta say, the music that thing picked, it wasn't particularly fast, by the way. It didn't happen in 30 seconds. It took like 5 or 10 minutes. But the music it picked, every single thing on the playlist, I went, I can see why it picked that. Sometimes it was a similarity in the melody. Not that the melody was the same, but it had the same kind of bounce to it, if you will. You know, same kind of just general tone to the melody. Other times the lyric content was like, wow, that song it's not the same lyrics by any stretch. You would not say, oh, that's like the You Are the Woman lyric. But the sentiment was on target, like impressively so. Other times it was a lesser combination of like the melody and the lyric were like on a scale of 1 to 10, about an 8. And the production sounded dated just like the record is now because it was done in 1976. So I was impressed overall. And the guys of the company don't have their heads up their butts. Most of these guys are just a bunch of chip heads, and I kind of blow them out. They don't understand the music business. They don't understand art that much. They understand data points, you know. It's a whole different conversation. So we are looking at, and we are very soon going to try a test here for that very same thing that we were talking about 5 minutes ago, where when we get a request from a music supervisor where they need something in an hour or something in less than a day, that we can't have it scan the entirety of Taxi's music database. It's just too huge. It's, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of songs. I'm trying to, yeah, that's a safe statement. So we're thinking about resurrecting an idea I had probably 10 years ago called the Taxi Garage, where we will put music, you will pay. Yes, you will pay. Once again, the dollar sign barrier goes up to make you think about it. If you've got material that you feel is particularly good for film and TV, whether it's songs or instrumentals, we'll charge something like $5 a year to park it in the garage. That means it's available for the AI computer to scan it for these requests. So if we get a request in at 4 p.m, somebody needs music by midnight, we will then have the AI use their references and search the database of stuff that our members have deemed good enough and appropriate for film and TV, and pay $5 a year or whatever it is to park it. Could be $5 a month. I don't know. We haven't even worked out the pricing yet, but it's not going to be expensive, but I'm not going to do this for nothing. You know, I want to make some money. I certainly don't want to lose money on it. And then once the AI has scanned it and shown us the list of possibilities, at that point, the head of A&R or the head screener or maybe some combination thereof will go through the stuff that the AI has picked and go, yep, nope, what the hell was that computer thinking? Yep, nope. And then we will have to reach out to the members, because this is one of the reasons we've never done it before. We know you guys. We know you guys really well. And so somebody put something in the garage in September, and in February it gets signed. Will they remember to take it out of the garage? No, they won't. The vast majority of people will not remember to take it out of the garage. Therefore, music will make it onto the possibility list that's already been picked up somewhere else. So now we have to check it to our list that we want to send the music supervisor. We then have to manually reach out to every one of those members, and they get only one shot in the moment. And that is, if we send them an email and we don't hear back from them in a half an hour, I'm sorry, you're out. You can cry, you can kick, you can scream, you can beg, you can plead, you can send us brownies with chili pepper in them. Not going to make it happen because we have a deadline. And we can't blow that deadline because we blow our reputation. Anyway, what do you guys think of this idea so far? Having people re-upload every month, they won't do it. And second of all, it's more about taking it out than re-uploading it. It just creates a lot more work for you guys. Cine Rants, I can't answer that question right now because I'm thinking about this, and not all music is spiritual, Nathan. I beg to differ with you on that one. If somebody's doing a dramedy cue, that's not spiritual. Don't trust the AI people for another 5 years at least. Well, I haven't trusted them for the last 10 years. But finally found some people that so far feel trustworthy. And I will tell you that one of the key people involved in this company has been the president of some of the biggest publishing companies in the world. He and I have become friends over the last 6 or 9 months or something. And he is one of the most respected publishers in the history of music publishing. And he is, every time you mention the guy's name, people say, "Oh, he's the greatest. I love him." I've never heard of anybody in the music industry that gets as many raves as being like a really transparent, solid, likable, trustworthy guy. So far so good on that score. Yeah, well, like I said, all the AI would do would be give us a list of possibilities, because we can't rustle up enough manpower late at night to do that sort of thing, to do it often, you know? Oh man, people are really jumping on this one. Okay, I'm scrolling backwards so I don't miss any of this stuff. Um, all the AI is doing is giving us a list of possibilities. It's saving us from having to comb through past listings looking for stuff. It's just going to look in the garage and go, could this work? And then human beings who are well trained at taxi will decide what gets sent. If it's $5 a year, I would. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I'm not. Don't hold me to anything. This is all just in the very early stages. I've been working on it in the background for months, and it's about to get a little more serious in the testing phase over the next couple of weeks. Will the buyer send you an email? Send an email to you saying what was picked? If yes, AI could scan for acceptance and update the garage database. Chances are they won't. People in the industry generally don't tell you. They don't reach out to us and say, when we send stuff to a library, they rarely tell us what they sign. Music supervisors do more frequently because they need to license it for that show. Akira has a question. What do we need? What do we need to feed the AI beyond the audio? Nothing. Tons of metadata? No, because we know from our own experience that given the opportunity to do their own keywording and adding metadata to music, the vast majority of people, I'm sorry to have to break this news, the vast majority of people can't be objective about their stuff and won't tag it correctly. That's why a lot of music libraries at best will go kind of roll their eyes, go, yeah, sure, send me some keywords, but chances are it'll get heavily redone. And this isn't going to search by keyword. I guess we could have them build that function in there, but it's looking at data points for the music. And again, it would just be giving us possibilities. It's not making decisions as to what gets sent. It's just narrowing down the list for us to look at. Yeah, we could send a reminder, Ian, every 3 months. Make sure your stuff is up to date. But those situations could change daily. Somebody could sign a deal with the library on Monday, and on Tuesday their thing is on the possibility list. So yeah, we could ask them to update. And you got to remember, only 30% of our members bother to open the emails we send them. I don't get that. I'm going to go 5 minutes long today, just letting Liz know that. Let's see, assuming the AI works, Greg says, it could come down to whether the garage was filled with enough music that's good enough. Even if members pay, that doesn't mean it's appropriate. That's right, but the $5 means that people will think twice before they put it in there. Why should they park, 20 of their songs at $5 a piece? And again, don't hold me to that price. I'm just talking out of my butt here, but, why would you spend $100? I guess some people would be goofy enough to, but the AI probably wouldn't pick it very often. And that's one of the things that we're testing for is, the quantity of good, solid, usable material versus the stuff that's like in fantasy land. Does that slow down the system enough that it makes it not work for us, or is that not an issue? One problem that could occur, some material will be passed over that was actually interesting to the buyer. that's always the possibility if you've got a music library sending stuff to an end user, a music supervisor. You don't think that you think that the music libraries hit it 100% on the head every time? No. And what you think, oh my gosh, I can't believe they didn't pick that and it got passed over. If you probably took 10 professionals from the sync industry, put them on a panel, they would probably pick what the library picked and pass over the stuff that the library passed over. When it comes to the people who created the music, how they feel, very different from how the people in the industry feel. What exactly is the AI going to be looking for? I can't tell you at this. I'm actually under an NDA, so I can't disclose too much about that. Frankly, I asked about the metadata one time. We got sidetracked, but it's gonna be, it looks for data points as far as, like AI measures intervals, melodic intervals. It measures rhythmic patterns combined with melodic intervals. It looks for similarities like that. And it actually does a remarkably good job. You could even have automatically monthly click to agree that tells you that your song is still available. Possibly if people open up the email or go check out, but only 30% of our members open the emails. Now this is way, I don't want to talk about that other company, but I had dinner with their CEO probably 15 years ago in New York. He's like, oh, you guys are doing it the old fashioned way with humans. We do it with a computer. So I'm pretty familiar with their system, and I've heard tell and I've seen comments on forums and stuff where they kind of force you. It's like if you want your music forwarded, you also have to pay to get it to go through the AI. Tricking humans is easy. Just look at headlines. Excuse me, no kidding. Taxi should buy band in a box to fulfill the short notice demands. Yeah, right. I don't know, Super Blonde, if it would reject stuff based on hidden watermarks. I don't know. Oh man, I lost that one. I think that was a good question and I lost it. Yeah, some of you have many songs, but how many songs do you have that are not already in catalogs? Can our screeners submit music for listings? No, they cannot. I'm not sure, Sherry, about if we charge per song or if it would just be, like $100 a year extra to be in the garage. The problem with that is that some people would pay the $100 and put 1,000 songs in there. Hypothetically, others would have 14. So it seems a little inequitable. I think that we should run it like a real parking garage. The more spaces you take, the more you pay. Yeah, screeners cannot submit. Couldn't you make the algorithm to select any music that has a certain click in it, only known to a select few? I don't really understand that, Mike. Yeah, it's a good idea in theory. Yeah, we don't know. Like I said, it's not like I said we've made this decision and we're rolling this out. I can tell you that we're about to go to second base with it on testing level because first base was impressive and we like the people. Yeah, here's an obvious question. Let's go another 5 minutes. When I was discussing this with somebody, I think a musician friend of mine, he said, well, why don't you just use that for all taxi listings? And I actually had a really good reason why we can't. Oh, one of the reasons is because it can't generate critiques. Chances are you'll miss a lot of interesting stuff. That's guesswork, Martin. I love you, buddy, but how do you know? How do you know? You don't know how effective the AI is. We don't know how effective it is yet, but we're going to do a test soon that will give us a better idea. All I can tell you is the test that I saw was impressive enough that I wanted to go to second base with it and test it further. We may try it out and go, talk to us in a couple of years, guys. It's not there yet. Charge $21 a year for placement in the garage. Offer a credit of $3 for the member who gets the placement to update the garage. I don't understand that either. Riney says, that makes no sense, ML. What makes no sense? You're not making any sense because you gave me half a sentence, half a thought. So if we get sync, we should update our taxi page, right? Yeah, let us know. Absolutely. Is the issue about taxi manpower to pull these songs from the garage database? I don't really understand that either. I think I explained that, yeah, it's we do it now in a very manual way. It's time consuming and we need to meet the deadlines. Yeah, we what Mark Phillips says. Yes, we're going to test it. And again, like I said, it's not deciding what gets forwarded. It's giving us a list of here's stuff that's in the ballpark. Now, you human beings at Taxi who have ears and experience, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's just looking through a vast amount of material and giving us possibilities that we couldn't possibly go through on our own. Taxi TV is a deep fake. Notice how my skin's very pale today? It's not really me. I'll be back. Anyway, all right, we're 10 minutes over. Don't talk about this on the forum, please, because I don't want to have to answer 1,000 emails. This is so early, and if the end of the journey is the end of a mile, we're about 300 feet into this journey, maybe. It's just so early. I just wanted to see how you guys felt about it emotionally, if it's something that would be appealing to you, if it opened up possibilities for you to get more. One thing that it does for you that we really like about it is it opens up more possibilities for you to get your music placed in direct-to-supervisor situations without having to split the sync fee with a publisher. So there you go. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Monday, we're going to do one of your favorite things on Taxi TV. We're going to listen to this month's top 10. So don't miss that. And if you have questions about this, write them down and save it for the next Quarantini on Tuesday of next week. Don't email them to the staff right now. I have a feeling there could be a lot of emails about this. Save the questions. I want to have the discussion where where I'm not answering the same question over and over in emails. We'll just talk about it more on Tuesday, and we'll devote the whole show to it. Okay? We'll call it the Taxi TV Robot Show. Until then, I bid you a fond farewell. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you Monday for the Top 10 show. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.